Hey guys, RC here, little TJet update. We now have a 3-hole rocker weight for tungsten inserts. We also now have tungsten pins that you no longer have to trim to length. These pins, they fit in there perfectly. They're almost too perfect. So they're a little tight actually, a lot of times. And by tight, they still press in. You just may have to use some force to press them in. So, like, that one slid right in. Some do, some don't. It's a tolerance thing. It's a really tight tolerance. Trying to get you as much weight as low as we can. So if we can... Yeah, some guys just wanted a lower center of gravity on their front end and still be able to use, like, titanium axles with dash motors and things like that. And so what we needed to do was, a lot of guys didn't like having to trim the tungsten pins. They weren't good at it. And if you need to loosen these pins up, if they're too tight for you, you can obviously just chamfer the hole like I just did a little bit with a file. Or you can, if you need them bigger so they slide in and out easier, if you tend to remove them fairly often, you can just get probably an 0635 or an 064 reamer. Just run it in there until it bottoms out into the smaller hole in the backside. As soon as it bottoms out, you need to stop to make sure that back hole that holds everything stays there. But if that works out, you'll be able to slide them in and out a little easier. And a lot of times, just getting these pins straight, I was just struggling really bad and straightened them up. They get into about there normally, look like little pegs, and then you kind of have to use some force to push them in the rest of the way. But it's better than having to use a diamond wheel and trim them all. That tends to be a little bit too much for some guys, and especially when you're trying to take 10,000s off. Wanted to go in quite all the way. I'm also going to do a small tutorial on how to put this thing together. So there they are. You can't see any pin sticking out, which is the way you need it for the front end. So this is one of my freight cars. I'm going to, this front end's been on and off a few times, give a small example of what we need to do. So this is your basic rocker front end. This is probably just an old stainless steel axle from the fray. Typically, put the retainer on one side, put the rim on, no tire. The rim now has the shank on it for going inside the weight. The weight goes flat side towards the wheel. Nothing should be protruding this way at all. So you slide that on, put that over the rim, slide right over. Now you've got the sleeve. The sleeve should go the same direction as the weight. As you notice, the weight has a little hook there to hook on the sleeve, or the plastic spacer, whatever you would like to refer to it as. It was called a sleeve before because it had a sleeve that went inside the weight, and now it's probably just more a spacer. So the spacer has the same look. So we'll slide that on there. No. And that's all you have to do for one side. It's pretty self-explanatory once you get used to it. There are a lot of people that are kind of think it's a little bit cumbersome to start. The other side, same thing. Put the notch towards the chassis. And you have to, this is kind of the awkward part, you have to put the sleeve notch towards that, and it just kind of sits there and hangs out. And then you put the rim on, same way. Now, this retainer is a little bit old, so I can just push it on by hand. You should never run the same retainer more than, you shouldn't run it on more than twice. That's basically my best school of thought there. Just because, I know it happened at the Ohio Cup this year. Somebody jammed a front end or lost a retainer or something. Some weird stuff happens. Now you want to make sure these wheels spin free. If the wheels do not spin free and the weight, you want to make sure your weights move free. If they don't, you want to make sure that you probably just wedge a knife blade in between the rim and the brass piece, and just give it a little, just twist it just a tiny little bit, and get it so you don't want a lot of play in this. You know, because if the more play it is, the more chance. You know, if you open it up too much, then the only thing holding this weight from rotating is this spacer piece. So if it's too wide, obviously you can see if it's too wide, you can't. You know, it's about 25 thou there, but you know there's always going to be some rock and some flex, so you got to be careful. But that's how easy it is to put the rocker front end on the car. Granted, I had the retainers on, but that's really what we, you know, I think that. I don't think necessarily the 3 holes are necessary. I think the 3 holes is a nice little concept in case you would like to use it. But it gives me an excuse to put together a front end on camera for you guys and show you guys that we have new pins that are small, you know, or smaller, so you don't have to trim them compared to trimming them all by hand, and to show you that we have the new products. So if you guys have any questions, please let me know. Thanks.